In 2023, nearly 13.5% of U.S. households, over 18 million homes, were food insecure. That's before any disaster. Now imagine the supply chain collapsing overnight, prices skyrocketing, and your local grocery store shelves going bare. What would you do if you only had $100 in 30 days to feed your family? Stick around because I'm going to show you exactly how to build a 30-day emergency pantry on a budget before it's too late. Hey everyone, I've been digging through survival reports, prepping communities, and the latest USDA and Reuters data, and the truth is alarming. Food assistance programs are being slashed, demand at food banks is exploding, and inflation is pushing millions closer to hunger. That's why in today's video, I'll break down the step-by-step process of creating a survival pantry that lasts 30 days for under $100. You'll discover the shelf-stable foods that stretch the farthest, the buying strategies preppers swear by, and why item number 6 is the one most people overlook until it's too late. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Have you noticed empty shelves or price hikes in your area? Drop your experience in the comments. So let's talk about planning, because building a 30-day emergency pantry isn't just about tossing random cans into a box, it's about survival. Now, what does 30 days really mean? For one person, that's about 90 meals. For a family of 2, you're suddenly looking at 180 meals. And if you're feeding 4, you're staring down 360 plates of food in a single month. That's why planning matters. Because when disaster strikes, those numbers feel huge, fast. Here's where most people get it wrong. They picture an emergency pantry like a doomsday bunker stacked to the ceiling. But the truth, you don't need endless shelves. You need the right foods, things that last, things that don't spoil, and things you can actually eat without fancy cooking. Think about the SHTF scenarios. The grid goes down, power's out, your fridge is useless, maybe you have a camp stove or just a pot over a fire. That means you can't rely on frozen pizza or fresh produce. You need shelf-stable, low-maintenance food that works with minimal fuel. Space matters too. A tiny apartment pantry can't hold 20 cases of canned soup. So storage and packaging are just as important as the food itself. Now let's talk money, because this video is about building that pantry for under $100. Sounds impossible? Not if you play it smart. Here's the strategy. Stretch your dollars by buying in bulk. Rice, beans, oats, these staples are dirt cheap per pound and can feed you for weeks. Next, hit the discount grocers and dollar stores. Many carry canned goods at a fraction of supermarket prices. And don't ignore sales cycles. Stores run deep discounts on pantry items every few weeks. That's when you stock up. Here's a shocking fact. The average meal in the US costs $3.58, according to Feeding America. If you tried to eat normally for 30 days, that's over $322 for one person. But if you plan carefully, you can cut that down to just $100 or less without starving. The trick isn't buying everything at once. It's building slowly, piece by piece. Add a few cans here, a bag of rice there. In just a couple weeks, you'll look at your shelves and realize you're ready. Because in a crisis, the question isn't what's for dinner. The question is, did you prepare while you still could? 2 simplest staples: rice, beans, pasta, oats, and lentils. Let's break it down. Rice is the backbone of almost every survival pantry. A single 20-pound bag, costing around $12 at many U.S. stores, has over 32,000 calories. That's enough energy to keep one adult going for weeks. White rice can last up to 25 years if stored properly, which makes it one of the cheapest and longest-lasting calories you can buy. Beans come next. Whether canned or dry, beans pack protein, fiber, and critical nutrients that rice alone can't provide. Dry beans are incredibly cheap, around $1.50 per pound, and a 1-pound bag expands to nearly 6 cups cooked. Together, rice and beans create a complete protein, which is why survival experts always pair them. Then there's pasta. It's lightweight, filling, and fast to cook. A 5-pound bag often costs under $6, and it delivers thousands of calories that can be dressed up with just a little oil or sauce. Pasta is comfort food, and in a crisis, comfort matters. Oats are another underrated hero. They're perfect for breakfast, packed with fiber, and they cook quickly with just hot water. A family-sized container, about $4 at Walmart, can make more than 30 hearty servings. Plus, oats can double as a baking ingredient, giving you versatility when variety runs low. And finally, lentils. Here's the surprising part. Lentils cook much faster than beans, which saves fuel if the power is out. They're also loaded with iron and protein, making them a survival superfood. For around $2 a pound, you get a nutrient-dense option that can stretch soups, stews, or rice dishes. Here's the shocking truth. The average American spends over $300 a month per person on food. But by focusing on these 5 staples, you can build a month's worth of calories for under $50. Simple, cheap, and life-saving. These staples aren't just food. They're your insurance policy when everything else fails. 3. Proteins. Canned fish, peanut butter, dry beans, and legumes. When it comes to survival, protein is non-negotiable. Your body can't function without it. It fuels your muscles, repairs tissues, and keeps your energy steady when stress is sky high. But here's the good news. You don't need expensive cuts of meat to survive. You can get all the protein you need from cheap, shelf-stable sources. Canned fish like tuna and sardines are the ultimate prepper hack. A single can of tuna costs about $1.25 at most U.S. discount grocers and gives you 20 grams of protein. Sardines are even better. They're packed with protein, omega-3 fats, and calcium because you eat the tiny bones. Plus, canned fish can last 3 to 5 years in your pantry without refrigeration. Next up is peanut butter. Not only is it kid-friendly and comfort food in a crisis, but it's also loaded with protein and healthy fats. A standard 16-ounce jar has about 90 grams of protein and over 2,600 calories, making it a compact powerhouse for survival, and it's cheap, under $3 at most big box stores. And then we have the backbone of budget prepping, dry beans and legumes. Black beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, lentils, you name it. A 1-pound bag usually costs $1 to $2 and can expand to feed 4 people once cooked. Here's the kicker. Beans and rice together form a complete protein, giving your body all the amino acids it needs without ever touching meat. Here's a shocking fact. According to the USDA, Americans eat an average of 224 pounds of meat per person every year. But in a crisis, your survival doesn't depend on steaks. It depends on cheap, protein-rich pantry foods like these. Stocking up on canned fish, peanut butter, and beans ensures you're covered, even if grocery stores stay empty for weeks. Affordable, long-lasting, and life-saving. 4. Fats and oils. Cooking oil, acide balsamique, shelf-stable substitutes. When people plan survival food, they often forget about fats. But here's the truth. Without fat, your body can't absorb vitamins like A, D, E, and K. You'll feel drained, weak, and constantly hungry, even if you're eating enough calories. That's why fats and oils are survival gold. Cooking oil is the easiest way to add energy to your meals. A single gallon of vegetable oil has over 30,000 calories. That's enough fuel to keep one adult going for weeks at around $9 to $10 per gallon in 2025. It's one of the cheapest calorie sources you can buy. The key is storage. Keep it sealed in a cool, dark place and rotate every year or two since oils can go rancid. For old school preppers, lard or shortening is another option. It's shelf stable, inexpensive, and great for cooking when you need something that lasts a bit longer than standard oil. One tub can add thousands of calories to your pantry for just a few dollars. And don't overlook shelf stable butter substitutes or ghee. These aren't just luxuries, they're comfort foods. In a crisis, spreading a little fat on bread or stirring it into rice can make survival meals feel more human. Sometimes morale is as important as nutrition. Here's a surprising fact. The average adult needs 70 to 80 grams of fat per day just to function. Without it, your body starts burning muscle for energy. That's why including fat in your 30-day pantry is just as crucial as rice or beans. So while protein and carbs keep you alive, fats keep you strong. And the best part, they're cheap, compact, and calorie dense. Perfect for stretching that $100 pantry budget. 5. Vegetables and fruits, canned, dried, and spascorpe, and smart storage. Here's something most new preppers don't realize. You can survive on rice, beans, and peanut butter for a while, but without vegetables and fruits, your body will eventually crash. Why? Because carbs and protein give you energy, but it's the vitamins and minerals from fruits and veggies that keep your immune system, digestion, and even your mental health functioning. Think about it. In a long-term crisis, fresh produce is the first thing to vanish from store shelves. Within days, bananas are brown, lettuce is gone, and anything perishable is history. That's why your emergency pantry needs shelf-stable fruits and vegetables. Canned vegetables are the easiest win. A single can of corn, green beans, or peas costs under $1 at discount grocers. Most have a shelf life of 2 to 5 years, and they're ready to eat cold if you have no power. Canned tomatoes are especially important because they can form the base for soups, stews, and pasta dishes, stretching simple staples into full meals. Canned fruit is another survival booster. Pineapple, peaches, and pears aren't just sweet. They also provide vitamin C, which protects against scurvy. Yes, scurvy still exists, and it can show up in just a few months if your diet is too limited. One shocking fact, during World War II, entire naval crews fell sick from vitamin C deficiency because their rations lacked fruit. Imagine that happening in your neighborhood during a long blackout. If you want to go lighter, dried fruits like raisins or cranberries last a long time, take up little space and are packed with quick energy. Pair them with oats or peanut butter and you've got survival trail mix. Frozen fruits and veggies are also useful if you've got the freezer space and a backup generator. But remember, in a true grid down scenario, frozen food is risky. That's why canned and dried should always come first. Here's a smart tip. Look for mixed vegetable cans. They give you variety in one purchase and help prevent food fatigue, which is when eating the same thing every day actually makes people stop eating enough. That's dangerous in survival mode. Bottom line, vegetables and fruits aren't luxuries. They're survival medicine in a can. A dozen cans of veggies and half a dozen cans of fruit will cost you less than $20 and could save your health when everything else falls apart. 6. Flavor and variety. Spices, salt, sugar, and sauces. Here's the part that almost every beginner prepper forgets. Flavor. Sure, you can survive on plain rice and beans, but after 2 weeks, you'll be so sick of bland food that you'll start skipping meals. That's not just uncomfortable. It's dangerous. In survival situations, appetite fatigue is real, and it can make people eat less than they need. That's why adding flavor to your pantry isn't about luxury. It's about survival. Let's start with the most basic. Salt. It's dirt cheap, it never expires, and your body actually needs it to regulate fluids and muscle function. Without salt, you can suffer from headaches, fatigue, and even muscle cramps. A single $1 container can last months, and it can turn bland beans into something edible. Next up is sugar. Beyond sweetening your oatmeal or coffee, sugar is pure, quick energy. It's also useful for baking, preserving food, and even making a morale-boosting treat when everything feels bleak. 5 pounds usually costs around $3 to $4, and properly stored, it lasts indefinitely. Now, spices. Think chili powder, garlic powder, black pepper, or curry blends. These tiny containers take up almost no space, but completely transform a pot of rice or pasta. A sprinkle of paprika or cumin can make the same basic meal taste completely different. And here's the kicker. Spices are one of the most overlooked barter items. In a long emergency, people will trade supplies for flavor, guaranteed. Don't forget sauces. A bottle of hot sauce, soy sauce, or even bouillon cubes can save your sanity. They're cheap, compact, and they pack massive flavor. Bouillon cubes in particular are a secret weapon. They turn plain water, rice, and vegetables into a warm, hearty soup in minutes. That's comfort in a bowl. Here's a surprising fact. During the Great Depression, families didn't just hoard flour and beans, they hoarded seasonings. Why? Because when money was tight and meals were repetitive, flavor kept them eating and kept morale alive. So yes, food staples are your fuel. But flavor is what keeps you eating that fuel day after day. A $20 investment in salt, sugar, spices, and sauces can keep your pantry meals interesting for months, and in a crisis, keeping your spirit strong is just as important as keeping your stomach full. 7. Water and fluids, storage, purification, oats, and smart add-ons. Food can keep you alive for weeks, but water? You've got just 3 days without it before your body starts shutting down. That's why every emergency pantry has to include a serious plan for water and fluids. The rule of thumb is simple. 1 gallon per person per day. That covers drinking, cooking, and a tiny bit of washing. So for one person, 30 days means 30 gallons. For a family of 4, that's 120 gallons. Sounds like a lot, and it is, but there are practical ways to manage it. Even in a small space. Start with cheap water storage. You don't need fancy prepper gear. 1 gallon jugs from the grocery store cost about $1 each. A 24-pack of bottled water runs under $6 at most warehouse clubs. Stack a few cases under the bed or in a closet and you're already ahead of 90% of people. But here's the catch. Stored water doesn't last forever. Plastic can leach chemicals and bacteria can grow if it's not sealed properly. That's why you also need a backup purification plan. Portable water filters like the Sawyer Mini or Life Straw cost around $20 and can clean thousands of gallons. Boiling works too, but remember, it burns fuel, and in an SHTF scenario, every bit of fuel matters. Now let's talk about something people overlook: drink mixes and electrolytes. In a crisis, plain water can get boring fast. Worse, if you're sweating from stress, heat, or physical work, you'll lose electrolytes your body desperately needs. That's where powdered sports drink mixes, electrolyte packets, or even cheap Kool-Aid powder can be lifesavers. They boost morale, prevent dehydration, and keep kids drinking enough fluids. Here's a shocking fact. During Hurricane Katrina, thousands of people had food but still suffered because they couldn't access clean water. Relief supplies took days to arrive and dehydration hit fast. That disaster taught preppers the golden rule: store water first, then food. Another smart tip: collect water as you go. Keep a few collapsible containers on hand. Even 20 to 30 gallons of tap water gives you a huge head start. So here's the bottom line. Without water, your pantry is useless. Rice, beans, pasta, they all need water to cook, and your body needs it even more. For under $50, you can build a mix of bottled water, filters, and drink mixes that turn your pantry from just food storage into a complete survival system. Because when the shelves go empty, the first thing people panic buy isn't beans or bread, it's water. Don't wait until that moment. Store it now. 30-day emergency pantry. Under $100, complete item list. Most people think building a 30-day food supply costs hundreds of dollars. But the truth is, you can do it for under $100 if you're smart about bulk buying and shelf-stable staples. 1. Rice. 10 pounds. $8. Rice is the backbone of any survival pantry. 10 pounds equals about 100 servings, and it stores for years if kept dry. 2. Pinto beans. Dry. 5 pounds. $6. Protein and fiber packed. Soaked and cooked, 5 pounds stretches into nearly 50 hearty servings. 3. Pasta. 6 pounds. $7. Quick to cook, filling, and versatile. 6 pounds gives about 24 portions. 4. Rolled oats. 5 pounds. $6. Breakfast staple. 5 pounds equals 50 bowls of oatmeal. 5. Lentils. 4 pounds. $6. Unlike beans, lentils cook fast. 4 pounds equals 40 servings. 6. Peanut butter. 2 jars, 16 ounces each. $6. High in protein and fat. Exactly what you need for survival calories. About 30 servings per jar. 7. Canned tuna, 6 cans, $6. Shelf-stable protein, 8. Canned sardines at 4 cans, $5. Nutrient-dense, rich in omega-3s. Great morale booster food, 9. Canned vegetables, 8 cans, $7. Corn, green beans, peas, these stretch out your carbs with vitamins and variety. 10. Canned tomatoes, 6 cans, $6, perfect for pasta sauce, soups, or chili, adds flavor to plain rice or beans. 11. Powdered drink mix, 1 tub, $5. Keeps hydration interesting, provides electrolytes, and encourages kids to drink water. 12. Instant ramen, 12 packs, $4. Cheap, fast calories, add beans or tuna to upgrade it into a full meal. 13. Cooking oil, 48-ounce bottle, $5. Essential for calories and flavor. 1 bottle lasts weeks. 14. Salt and seasonings, $5. Don't underestimate morale. Spices make survival food taste like comfort food. 15. Shelf-stable milk powder, 1 box, $7. Adds protein, calcium, and works with oats, coffee, or baking. Total, about $90 to $95. That's over 300 meals for one person, enough for 30 days. If you divide $90 by 30 days, that's just $3 per day. Break it down further. With 3 meals a day, that's around 10 cents per meal. Think about that. For the cost of 1 fast food burger, you could cover nearly a week's worth of survival meals. This setup isn't gourmet, but it's cheap, filling, and balanced. Carbs for energy, protein for strength, fats for calories, and veggies for nutrients. And most importantly, it's food security for under $100. Storage, rotation, and maintenance. Here's the thing, building a 30-day pantry under $100 is only half the battle. The real challenge? Keeping it safe, fresh, and ready when disaster actually hits, because the last thing you want is opening your emergency stash and finding spoiled beans, rancid oil, or cans that went bad months ago. So let's break it down. First, storage matters. Food can last years if you treat it right. The golden rule is simple: cool, dark, and dry. Don't stash rice in a damp garage or leave canned goods in a hot attic. Heat and moisture are your biggest enemies. Instead, aim for a pantry, closet, or basement corner that stays under 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Second, proper sealing. Dry foods like rice, beans, oats, and lentils last longer if you keep them in airtight containers. Think plastic buckets with tight lids, mason jars, or even heavy-duty zip bags inside totes. Why? Because pests love dry goods as much as you do. A single hole from a mouse can wipe out weeks of meals. Now, let's talk about the rotation system. FIFO. That stands for first in, first out. What it means is, the oldest food you bought gets eaten first, and the newer stuff goes to the back. Mark your items with a Sharpie, big, bold dates right on the package. That way, when you're pulling cans or bags, you always know what to grab first. And here's something most people miss: expiration dates. Yes, canned goods and dry staples last much longer than those printed dates, but don't ignore them. Rotate them into your regular meals so nothing goes to waste. Cook beans and rice for dinner once a week. Use that peanut butter for sandwiches. Treat canned veggies like side dishes, not just in case food. This way, you're constantly cycling through your pantry and replacing it little by little. Think of it like this. Your emergency pantry shouldn't sit in the dark, untouched, collecting dust. It should work with your daily life. That way, when SHTF comes, whether it's inflation, a storm, or an actual grid down, you're not eating 10-year-old oats. You're eating fresh, safe, and familiar food. Pro tip, set a reminder every 3 months to check your pantry. Look for leaks, bugs, dents, or expired items. Replace what's gone. That little habit could mean the difference between having food when you need it or discovering an expensive pile of wasted calories, adjusting for different scenarios. Now, here's the truth. Survival doesn't look the same for everyone. The way you build and use a 30-day pantry will depend on your tools, your family size, your diet, and yes, even your budget as prices keep climbing. Let's walk through the biggest scenarios most preppers face. First, what if you can't cook? Maybe the power's out, you don't have propane, or you're stuck in a small apartment. In that case, shelf-stable, ready-to-eat foods become lifesavers. Think peanut butter, canned tuna, sardines, canned beans, and fruit cups. Add crackers, tortillas, or ramen noodles that only need hot water. Even powdered milk mixed with bottled water can become breakfast. If you've got a way to boil water, like a camp stove or a rocket stove, you've just unlocked rice, oats, and pasta. But if you have nothing, build your pantry around foods that require zero cooking. Next, what if you need to feed more people? Scaling up is simple math. A 10-pound bag of rice lasts one person 30 days, but for a family of 4, you'll want 4 times that. Same with beans, oats, summer pasta. The trick is bulk buying. Warehouse clubs like Costco or Sam's Club sell 25 or 50-pound sacks of rice and beans for a fraction of the price per pound. Stock once and you're covered for months instead of weeks. Vegetarian or vegan, no problem. Swap canned fish for extra beans, lentils, and nut butters. Tofu and plant-based proteins don't store well, but dry chickpeas, split peas, and quinoa are powerhouse substitutes. For allergen concerns like gluten or peanut allergies, focus on rice, lentils, canned vegetables, sunflower butter, and shelf-stable dairy alternatives like oat or soy milk. And here's a big one, inflation. Food prices in 2025 are no joke. The USDA reports grocery prices are still rising, especially for meat and processed foods. But here's the hack. Shop smart. Discount grocers, ethnic markets, and dollar stores often sell rice, lentils, and canned goods for 20 to 40% less than big box stores. Look for clearance racks and Best Buy sales. You'll often find perfectly good canned food at half price, and always buy in bulk when you can. $10 of rice today might be $15 next year. Bottom line, no matter your situation, no stove, big family, special diet, or tight budget, there's always a way to adapt your 30-day pantry. Flexibility is survival. When disaster strikes, it's not the strongest or the smartest who survive. It's the ones who are prepared. And now you know, you don't need thousands of dollars or a bunker in the woods. With less than $100, you can build a 30-day emergency pantry that could literally save your life. Think about it. While others are lined up outside empty grocery stores, panicking over bare shelves, you'll already have food, stability, and peace of mind sitting at home. That's what real resilience looks like. But here's the hard truth. Time is not on your side. Prices are climbing, shortages happen overnight, and once SHTF, it's too late to start prepping. Every day you wait, your dollar buys less, and your options shrink. So here's your action step. Start small, even if it's just 1 bag of rice, 1 jar of peanut butter, or a couple cans of tuna. Build piece by piece, rotate your stock, and before you know it, you'll have 30 days of food security for under $100. That's survival on a budget, and that's power in your hands. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you noticed higher prices at your local grocery store, or have you seen empty shelves in the past year? Drop your experience in the comments. I read every single one. If this video gave you value, smash that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe with notifications on. Because in the next video, we'll cover the dirt cheap items most preppers forget until it's too late. And you don't want to miss it. Stay prepared, stay safe, and remember, preparedness isn't panic, it's peace of mind.